In this video, the strategy of the human continuum will be presented. This interactive strategy helps students to think about their views of important social and political issues, as well as to listen to the views of classmates and consider different perspectives. Students will be presented with a statement and asked to identify and share their view on the issue, as well as listen to the views of their classmates. This method is particularly useful when considering a controversial issue. Through the structured process, students may enhance their understanding of an issue, which can lead to a refinement and a clarification of their initial view. Through this teaching method, students will gain practice with many skills, such as the ability to articulate views, listen to others, evaluate positions, and develop reasoned conclusions. Important dispositions that can be developed are civility, the willingness to listen to and consider diverse perspectives, respect for diversity of views, and appreciation that public discourse can lead to deeper understanding of issues. During the activity, the students will stand on an imaginary line or a continuum at a spot that represents their view. Each end of the continuum will represent the extreme views of totally agree or totally disagree. Each of the points along the continuum will represent views of varying degrees. To prepare for the activity, the instructor needs to, first, create a statement that will require students to decide if they strongly agree with the statement, partially agree with the statement, partially disagree, or strongly disagree, or any other reaction that might fall between those two positions. Next, the instructor must designate a space in the classroom where students can stand in order to create a line. Then the instructor should place the signs with the words strongly agree and strongly disagree at opposite ends of a continuum, making sure to leave enough space between the signs so students can position themselves on the imaginary line that connects the two signs. To prepare the students, it will be necessary to fully explain the activity and the rules. First, direct the students' attention to the signs and explain that you will make a statement and they will likely have an opinion on. Explain that they might strongly agree with the statement, partially agree, partially disagree, strongly disagree, or have any other reaction that falls between these 2 points. Explain that after hearing the statement, they must determine what spot on the continuum best represents their reaction. And when told to do so, they should stand up and come to that spot on the continuum. Review the rules for the activity with the students. The following rules are very important. 1. Students must show respect for the views of others. Only one student may speak at a time. 2. Students may only speak when recognized by the instructor. 3. Students may only state the reasons for their own position. They may not criticize the view of someone else or try to debate with others. Periodically, you'll be given an opportunity to move on the continuum if you have changed your views, even if only a little bit. Before the students stand on the continuum, it's useful to give them a few minutes to decide their position and the reasons for their views. Encourage students to refer to evidence and examples to defend their view. Writing this down is helpful for students to clarify their thoughts. To conduct the activity, once the students have had time to determine their views, ask them to stand on the spot on the line that represents their opinion. If several students share the same position on the line, it's useful to ask them to stand one behind the other so that their position on the line is clear. Once students have lined themselves up, ask the students to explain why they've chosen to stand where they are, and encourage students to refer to evidence and examples when defending their stance. It's best to alternate from one end to the middle to the other end rather than allowing too many voices from one side to dominate the conversation. After several viewpoints are heard, ask if anyone wishes to move. Encourage students to keep an open mind. They're allowed to move if someone presents an argument that alters where they want to stand on the line. Ask students who moved to explain why they moved. To avoid a debate among the students, call on each student only once. The only exception is if they've moved their position. Run the activity until you feel most or all of the voices have been heard, making sure that no one has dominated the conversation. When the activity is completed, there are many ways you can follow up on this. When the activity is used at the beginning of studying a new topic, students are sharing views that may be based on limited and even incorrect information. This is important to point out to students, and therefore, an important next step to take is to ask students what questions they now have on the topic and what resources could they turn to in order to be better informed about the topic. Pursuing this research can be part of the students' work in your course, either on their own or through the course reader and future activities. Some other ways to follow up the activity are to have students reflect in writing about how the activity changed or reinforced their original position. To chart the main for and against arguments on the board as a whole class and then discuss. Or students can meet with partners and small groups to discuss what they learned from the activity. A final interesting follow-up activity is to conduct the human continuum again after further study. Doing the activity a second time in this way can help students see how their views may be changed through more knowledge of a subject. This can also be an opportunity for the instructor to assess how much the students have learned and if they're using new information to think critically about the topic.